It doesn't have to dissolve into narcissism. Narcissism can lead it.
It doesn't have to dissolve into narcissism. Narcissism can lead it. In 1972, Carly Simon recorded a song that would haunt Hollywood forever. You're So Vain hit #1 and started the greatest guessing game in music history. Famous men lined up to claim it. But Carly Simon knew something they didn't. The song wasn't about just one person. It was about 3 different men, 3 different relationships, 3 different betrayals. After 50 years of silence, she's finally telling the whole truth. What she revealed about the real inspirations will shock you. Carly Simon was born on June 25, 1943 in Manhattan during a time when the world was caught in war. Her family lived in the Riverdale area of the Bronx, where money and art met under one roof. Her father, Richard L. Simon, had co-founded Simon & Schuster, which had already become one of the biggest publishing houses in the world. Their home was full of books, grand piano music, and quiet expectations. They spent summers on Martha's Vineyard, where the air felt freer. But back in New York, things were held together by image and structure. She went to the Riverdale Country School, later Sarah Lawrence College, both elite, both full of artists and pressure. Behind all that privilege was a weight Carly couldn't escape, one shaped by her family's name, her mother's secrets, and her own quiet wounds. The family broke in strange ways. Her mother, Andrea, began an affair with a younger man hired as a tutor for Carly's younger brother, Peter. The man was supposed to teach, not live in the house like a second husband. Carly called him both lover and destroyer. Her father said nothing. Nobody stopped it. Carly was old enough to understand, young enough to be hurt by it. The house changed. The man stayed. Andrea didn't fight it, and the silence from Richard made things worse. The children felt it most. Carly watched the walls around her childhood crack. She later said the affair hollowed the home. It stayed with her for life. Then something even worse happened. In the summer of 1950, when she was 7, Carly was assaulted by a 16-year-old family guest named Billy. He was older, visiting from out of town. It started with skinny dipping. Then it went where no child should be taken. In a pool house shower, he abused her. The pain returned for several summers. Carly told her sisters, but they didn't believe her. They thought she was trying to be grown up. When her mother found out, Billy was only sent away for a month. No one in the family talked about it after that. Carly was left with a stutter and a shame too heavy to carry. She later said it changed everything, how she trusted, how she loved, how she wrote. At 10, Carly found a way to breathe. She started writing songs and poems. Her father often played Chopin and Beethoven on the piano, and the music filled their home like a second language. She picked up a ukulele from her jazz-loving uncle and began shaping melodies from the hurt inside her. Words were hard to say out loud, but they flowed in lyrics. Her stutter didn't reach the page. Her dyslexia pushed her toward rhythm. That early writing became her lifeline. What began in silence turned into the voice people would later hear on radios across the world. But identity was never easy for her. Her father was a German Jew. Her mother was Catholic with Cuban roots and claimed they had Spanish and Moorish ancestry. That belief stayed until 2017 when Carly took a DNA test on the show Finding Your Roots. It revealed that her maternal grandmother was 40% African, which meant Carly herself was 10% African and 2% Native American. The news surprised her. It challenged what she thought she knew about herself. The show traced her grandmother's records in Cuba, proving African-Cuban roots. It shook Carly deeply. She carried that into her later songs, verses about blood, belonging, and truth. In 1960, her father Richard died suddenly of a heart attack. He was only 61. Carly was just 16. It came 2 years after her mother's affair had torn open the house. The grief didn't just come from death. It came from everything unsaid between them. She described the loss as crushing. He was a brilliant man, but he had grown emotionally distant, and now he was gone. Carly's songs later held his absence like a secret chorus. she kept chasing the connection they never got to finish. In 1963, Carly and her sister Lucy formed the Simon Sisters. They picked up guitars and started performing folk songs. Within a few months, they signed with Cap Records. They even made it onto the short-lived ABC show Hoot & Annie. Their debut album, Meet the Simon Sisters, came out in 1964 when Carly was 20. One track, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod, hit number 73 on the Billboard Hot 100. Their voices blended like memory and hope. They wore matching dresses and toured small clubs, recording 3 albums. Then Lucy left the group to get married. Carly stayed. The songs didn't stop, but sadness followed her through the years. Her siblings all died from cancer. Joanna passed from thyroid cancer at 85. Lucy died just 1 day later at 82 from breast cancer. Their younger brother, Peter, a photographer, died in 2018 from cardiac arrest after lung cancer. Carly became the only surviving child of Richard and Andrea Simon. Each sibling had carved a life in the arts. Joanna sang opera. Lucy wrote Broadway music. Peter photographed life on Martha's Vineyard. Carly watched them all disappear one by one. She grew up in a mixed-faith home where God was quiet and confusion was loud. Her mother supported civil rights and marched for justice. But the emotional warmth was often missing. Carly grew up uncertain about religion. Her father was depressive, her mother distant, and the home was full of silence. As she got older, she walked away from religion, but not from meaning. Her songs wrestled with belief, loss, identity. The spiritual hunger never left her music. Martha's Vineyard was always there. It was more than a summer place. It was where the Simon family returned year after year. It's also where she met James Taylor. First as a child, then again in 1971 after she saw him on the cover of Time. She said, "I'm going to marry that man." And she did. They wed in 1972. The island became their retreat even after they split. Carly wrote much of her memoir, Boys in the Trees, there in a home she called Hidden Star Hill. The ocean, quiet, the history, it all poured into her writing. Back in New York, things kept breaking and rebuilding. Her mother's political work brought purpose, but the household stayed cold. Carly felt invisible at times. She turned her loneliness into lyrics. Songs became her therapy. Every piano note was a piece off her story. She went to Sarah Lawrence in the early 60s, but didn't stay long. She left to join Lucy in music. It shocked the family. Carly traded academia for Greenwich Village coffee houses. The folk scene was raw and messy. She fit right in. She said goodbye to privilege and hello to risk. It paid off. The Simon Sisters released Cuddlebug in 1966. Their songs were soft and thoughtful. Lucy left. Carly stood alone. She sang at clubs like The Bitter End, but stage fright haunted her. At one show in Pittsburgh in the late 60s, she collapsed from fear. Her stutter returned. She sometimes brought tranquilizers to perform. Even then, she couldn't always control the panic. In 1966, she tried going solo. Albert Mann, who managed Bob Dylan, took her on. She recorded with members of the band, but the producer crossed a line with her. He made a move. Carly said no. She said, "I'm greener than that." She wasn't going to become a puppet. The songs on that album, even with some commercial compromise, still had her fingerprints all over them. You could feel the struggle behind the chords. That tension, that refusal to fake it made the music more real. Even as her debut album moved 500,000 units, Carly didn't feel like she belonged. Childhood trauma whispered lies into her ears. That she wasn't good enough, that this won't last. But fans kept coming, not for the gloss, but for the ache. They heard themselves in her voice. She was rising, but the weight of it was always there. Then came No Secrets. November 28, 1972. It didn't just sell. It exploded. It hit #1 on the Billboard 200 and stayed there for 5 weeks. Within a year, it went platinum. It had 3 major hits: Anticipation, The Right Thing to Do, and one that would shake pop culture for decades: You're So Vain. You're So Vain hit number 1 in January 1973 and stayed there for 3 weeks. Over 1 million singles sold. The mystery in that song was gold. Who was it about? Warren Beatty, Mick Jagger, Bowie. People guessed for years. Jagger's voice was actually on the track backing her up without credit. In 2015, Carly confirmed the third verse was about Beatty. She had been at a real yacht party with him when he flung his hat and she felt herself disappear into the noise of fame. That line, "I had some dreams, they were clouds in my coffee," wasn't just clever, it was real, and people felt it. That song brought her 3 Grammy nominations in 1974. She won for Best Pop Vocal Performance, Female. But again, the glitter came with a price. The attention brought insomnia. She fell back into therapy. Being a cultural icon meant losing pieces of herself to the world. That pain spilled into her music. Fame wasn't saving her, it was wearing her down. Behind the studio magic of No Secrets, there was chaos. Musicians were snorting cocaine like it was air. It was everywhere. Carly didn't use, but she watched it wreck people. She saw how addiction hollowed out talent. That experience changed her. She became one of the few to speak out, to say no when everyone else was saying yes. It gave her clarity and it gave her even more to write about. By late 1972, The Right Thing to Do was climbing the charts. It reached the top 20 and captured something rare: the sweetness of new love without pretending everything was easy. That love was James Taylor. That same year, on November 3 RD, they got married in Paul Simon's apartment in Manhattan. The next night at Taylor's Radio City Music Hall show, they told the world. Carly had seen James in Time magazine and said to her sister, "I'm going to marry that man." She did. Their chemistry was electric. Their troubles were too. In January 1974, their daughter Sarah Maria was born. Right after, Taylor confessed he was using heroin again. He flushed the drugs down the toilet in front of Carly, but it didn't last. The addiction came back. The breakdowns, the emotional storms, the constant fear. Carly described it as living in a roller coaster. Some days they laughed, other days they barely survived. That year, Carly was pregnant and still recording. Hot Cakes dropped on January 11, 1974, and shot up to number 3 on the Billboard 200. The cover showed her visibly pregnant. It was bold and beautiful. Mockingbird, a duet with Taylor, became a top 5 hit. Haven T Got Time for the Pain reached number 14 on the Hot 100 and number 2 on the Adult Contemporary chart. She was balancing motherhood and a collapsing marriage while still breaking records, but things got worse. In 1975, she found out James was cheating. A health scare revealed the truth. Furious, she started an affair of her own, but it didn't balance the scales. Taylor was seeing multiple women. Carly confronted one of them at a rehearsal apartment. The woman insulted her, mocked her looks, told her James didn't love her. Carly left shaken and raw. The betrayal dug deep. Her marriage was cracking wide open. Taylor's Highway Companion came out in 1976, but no one really cared. It didn't chart well. His drinking worsened. They went to therapy. There, she found out just how many women there had been. The last thread snapped. Their bond was breaking on record and in real life. In 1977, they released Torch, a live album filled with fire and emotion. But behind the curtain, things turned violent. During one fight, Carly grabbed a guitar and tried to smash it over Taylor's head. She missed, but that moment stayed with her. It wasn't just about rage. It was about desperation. That album holds the sound of 2 people burning out in public. That same year, she recorded Nobody Does It Better for the James Bond film, The Spy Who Loved Me. It became her biggest international hit. Number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. 7 weeks at number 1 on the Adult Contemporary chart. Over 2 million copies sold. Grammy nominated, Oscar nominated, Golden Globe nominated.